And it looks like we are just entering the live realm here. Let's see. Hello, everyone on the YouTube realm. Yes, we are here. Give me a second while I copy this link to the chat for us. Welcome. We're going to talk about mental health, generalized mental health today, and kind of just our own personal experiences, the realms that we kind of occupy in our lives, and I don't know, just our own experiences. Just going to share this on the No Divide KC page here. But while I do that, should we introduce ourselves? Jacko, do you want to start while I copy this in there?
Yes, I will. So hello, everyone. My name is Jacory Dion. I also go by Jacko, and I'm a visual artist. Also, I do a lot of fitness coaching. I teach dance. And yeah, I'm going to be talking to you today about my own experience of using the body as a way to manage mental health or to assist with mental health.
Oh, thank you. Nita?
Hello, everyone. I am Nita. I'm very happy to be a part of this conversation. Mental health is very dear to my heart. I'm a huge advocate for it. And as we get to wrap up Mental Health Awareness Month, I think this is a very important conversation, and it's going to be a good one, everyone. Stay tuned.
Thanks. Alexi?
Hi, I'm Alexi Savru. I'm a poet and critic and film tech person. And yeah, I have some experiences with a lot of experience with mental illness, and I part of my writing.
Wrap up
All right.
Part of my writing focuses a lot on the sociology of mental illness.
Cool. And my name is Stacey Bush. I'm the president and co-founder of No Divide KC, and we do these hot dish topics every month. We thought that we would start doing a mental health kind of series. So this month is our generalized mental health conversation, kind of a potluck of mental health topics tonight. And then in June, next month, we'll be talking about addiction, of all kinds, drug addiction and the like. That is part of our upcoming show that we're presenting at the end of June called When Time. And then we'll finish up with some other mental health topic in July as well. So join us for that and click that subscribe button to check this out. So tonight, I guess I'll get started with the conversation. I said my name is Stacey. I'm an artist. I'm a composer and performer. I am also a recovering alcoholic, and I have bipolar disorder. And so I've been sober. I got sober when I was 22 years old, and I will be 31 next week, actually. And so entering into my 9th year of sobriety. And I guess you could say medication compliance or living not symptomatically of bipolar disorder, which is really, I'm so grateful for my time, and I'm so grateful for the life that I have now. And I think being in my 30s now, not that this really has to, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like markers really have to mean anything, but I do kind of feel like in a different spot in my life now, and looking at myself when I was 22 or younger and I was still drinking, and the person that I was, like, it's just, there's so much distance from that now, and I can kind of see some areas of my life that have just vastly improved, not the least of which being able to love someone. I drank a lot in isolation, and I was very addicted to willpower and self-discipline, and I was an athlete, and I kind of really was only focused on product and output and achievements and things like that. And I really just kind of was empty as a person. And, when all of that stuff didn't really come to fruition the way that I wanted, I became really cynical and apathetic about the world. And I kind of felt like, fuck you, and betrayed by life. Like, how could this happen to me? And dreams don't come true. Dreams don't come true. The idea that you work for something and then you get it is false. It's a kind of cruel joke that we're all participating in. And that really, contributed to my drinking and drug use and isolation and lone wolf mentality. And it just got worse and worse and worse from there. A couple bouts in rehab, and finally got sober. And now, mental health is a huge part of my life, but also as an artist, like basically the work that I do in recovery and any kind of mental care, self-care is basically like professional development at this point for me as being an artist. It's all stuff that I get out in my work, and the more truthful and honest and kind of clean I am with myself and being able to access, truths about myself and be able to speak from that and walk with that, the better my work as an artist becomes. And so I'm really grateful for my sobriety and for my support system and for the trials that I've been through and this kind of, I've been forced into focusing on mental health, and other people aren't forced, it's not a life or death matter all the time. And so I kind of feel lucky that it's like, I have to do it. Otherwise I really won't be here. So, but I think it's a great topic and everyone has different experiences. So that's a little bit about me and my journey. Someone want to jump in, do the second, hop off of that?
I guess I'll go. Thank you so much, Stacey, for sharing your story. I have been one of those people that's been around to see your growth and to hear your story, and you just inspire me beyond words. I'm so grateful to have you a part of my life and have someone to look up to. So thank you. Am I? Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I thought I was muted for a second. Okay.
I'm great.
Yeah, I'm Nita. As I said earlier, I'm a huge advocate for mental health. I started this path of really wanting to better myself and heal myself and grow a few years ago. And it is because of my pain. It is because of dealing with depression and anxiety. And of last year, I was actually diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. And trying to figure out what that means and how to fit that in my life and how to navigate around that. But I have been dealing with mental health issues for years, since I was, in my early teens. And, I hit some pretty hard times, but I am also grateful for it because they have led me to this path that I am on now. I consider myself a future therapist, a future life coach. I inspire to be a healer, heal myself, heal other people. I'm a student of psychology at the moment, studying to hopefully someday be a therapist. I really want to give back to my community. I really want to use my experience and my wisdom and the knowledge that I've learned to just give back. And so people can get these skills and heal themselves and help each other out. And so I'm grateful for the pain. You don't see it that way when you're going through something, but when you have been able to kind of move past the storm and you can kind of look back and say, okay, I see the meaning in all of this. And it may not happen right away, but I've had so many moments like that have happened. And so I was someone like a lot of us. I've experienced trauma, and I've didn't always grow up in the greatest environments and have the certain needs with the the mental and emotional needs met as a child. And so I had to really learn a lot of behaviors and patterns to fill some of those voids into adulthood. And so I'm growing and learning every day and just trying to do my best. With COVID, I think, COVID, it was a tough year for us all. And I know a lot of people, share about how mental health, I mean, everyone's mental health was really in a not so great place. We being isolated and separated from each other and dealing with so much uncertainty. And I experienced that too. I worked throughout the pandemic. I didn't get to stay at home. I had to go to work every day, and it was very stressful, and it definitely weighed on me. But last year was also the year that I made the decision that I was going to go back to school and study psychology. And prior to that, and I'd always wanted to do that. I always said that I wanted to be a therapist, but I didn't want to go back to school for it. I didn't want to spend all the years going back to school. I don't want to spend all the money. But last year I just said, you know what, I just think it's going to be worth it. And I feel like I'm being called to do this, and I have to answer this call. So in picking up this path or answering that call to do this, going to school and studying psychology, I also had to hang up one phone call and shut one door. And I was a performer for so many years. I was a musician, I was a singer, songwriter. And last year, I lost my passion for it. And I never thought I'd get to that place. I had been making music since I was a kid. My whole purpose, I felt, was to be a performer. And then it just didn't feel good anymore to do that. And I just didn't feel inspired. And I felt so much pressure to be this type of artist or to fit into this mold or this model, and it just became too much. And I had to remind myself that even when I was creating music, when I first started making music, I said that I wanted my music to heal. And at some point, I felt like I lost track of that. I lost track of who I was as an artist and as a performer. And so I took a step back from it, and I just got really into my spiritual practices. I got a new therapist and started working with my therapist. I saw a psychiatrist and got diagnosed with bipolar and got on medication. And I was doing the work, doing so much more work to just better myself and heal myself. And then I said, this isn't enough. It isn't enough to just work on me. I really want to help other people. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm passionate about these things. I will be a therapist someday. I will be a life coach someday. I look forward to speaking about these issues and helping people and thrive. And I get to work with someone that I met just kind of on the fly one day at work, and we're coming together to create a personal enrichment program. And we both have this thing about, I've learned so much on my journey, and I want to give that information out. And so we both met in the center about that, and we are creating something for people to help them along their journey. So I'm grateful to be where I'm at. I love the person I am. I look forward to seeing the person I've become, and I just look forward to just continue to heal myself and help other people. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Nice intro. Thank you. Alexi, Jacko. Should change my name.
So I'll jump in. My intro to this or into this is going to be a little bit different. So I think I mentioned that I train people. I help them to work on their bodies and change them and improve them. My background before that was with dance. And I think dance and music in general are wonderful things because they completely can take you out of whatever kind of dark spot you're in and connect you to the present. They can also trigger some things too. I think that music and dance are art, and art is disruptive, but it's also very healing. And so I came into like fitness through that. And I consider our bodies, our minds, all of this stuff is connected. I think that in our culture, we tend to think of things in isolation rather than holistically. And my take on it is that if you are neglecting one part of yourself, the other part is going to suffer. So if I'm not taking care of myself physically, at some point that's going to affect me psychologically, mentally, or vice versa. Since we're being a little personal, about 2 weeks ago, my grandfather died. I was with him like the last hour on this earth. And that was hard, but I got to say goodbye and whatever. But after that, I really didn't feel like exercising. I didn't feel like exercising with anyone. And I gave myself a day to feel like that. And then the next day I said, you need to get up and go. And the reason why is because sometimes we are so in here that we've just got to get out of there. You've got to get in here, get into your physical self. And so that's what I did. And it's sometimes it's not easy to do that. You'll be moving and you say, gosh, I'm just not into this. I'm not working on it. But it doesn't matter. It's a part of the routine, the ritual that you have to do. And eventually the healing will come, because the more you continue to do it, the less you're in your head about stuff. And I think that really it's easy to get in that headspace and stay negative. And I think anything you can do to balance out being in your head so much is good, and you should do it and encourage that and love that and feed that. So yeah, I don't know. I'll say more later. I'll let someone else talk.
Yeah, thank you. I feel you. Alexi.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'd like to say, first of all, that having so many people involved in music, which is not something I do, composition. I do, sound tech and camera work for film and theater and things like that. But it got me thinking about a certain area of my own issues that I'll bring up in a moment. But you tip generally when I've spoken with people on this topic, whether it's on panels or lectures or conferences or interviews or whatever, I'm not particularly nervous but this, ever since about February, I've been very exhausted. And I have schizophrenia and Tourette's, paranoid schizophrenia and Tourette's. And I think, one of the things that I'm going to let everyone know is something that I've never told anyone publicly, which is that I will hear voices, multiple voices, lots of voices, every couple of hours, sometimes every couple of minutes. Sometimes there are days where I don't have them, or it's just a little bit of chatter or something. But the reason the music thing really spoke to me, and I wanted to really focus on that, was because you all have experience with musical arts and all of that. And I think one of the things that I wanted to just say to whoever watches this is just, that is really, I've never heard voices while I was listening to music. That's that's kind of a very interesting thing for me. So I think that's a very interesting component to mental health, into self-expression and art, and how that relates or has a measurable impact on a person's psychological and psychosocial and biological well-being. And I think that as far as COVID goes, what we saw in 2020, with the travesties, the lunacy, the economic collapse, the chaos, all of the it, to me, watching it as somebody who has only known that schizophrenic experience his whole life, watching it, it felt, and this is a hypothesis I will defend, but is that I feel like the whole world kind of has existential schizophrenia right now. I feel like the whole world became schizophrenic like a couple years ago, but it's been 2020, like they full blown. And I think this dialogue is a very important thing, and that's why I'm so glad to be here and be a part of it, because there's a lot of dialogue about having a dialogue. We always hear that, but it's like we rarely actually have the dialogue, and there's so much to unpack. And it's and if we don't have it post COVID, like when are we going to have it? My gosh! And I think a lot of the issues, this might sound controversial, but I'm going to say it. I think a lot of the issues we have that underlie our problems, not just in America but globally. They're obviously multi-layered and very multifactorial and multifaceted. They're economic, they're cultural, they're institutional, all those things structural. But also, I do fundamentally believe that mental health is a major, major contributing factor. And I don't think necessarily we're as, ideologically divided as we might think. I think a lot of it has to do actually with people's mental states and their mental health, and just in like an inability to understand or empathize or make efforts at genuine points of connection. Instead, there's kind of like a lot of a groupthink on a lot of different sides, and a lot of, and that's not to invalidate any of it, because a lot, but it's just, there's a lot of, I see a lot of those similarities that undergird the paranoid stuff that really manifested quite profoundly and prominently throughout 2020 and through to current. And so it's just been very fascinating for me to watch as a kind of social scientist and editorialist, because so much of my work is in that area when I write academically, and it's just, that was what I was witnessing. And I'm at a point now. When I was 30, I gained partial insight, and so now I have to. So partial insight is, it's a little more confusing than having no insight, because you have to live with a lot of different realities and a lot of different truths and a lot of different versions of what you think is going on. So it can be very scary and exhausting, and it's confusing. But I can also recognize things that I couldn't recognize before, and one of them is other people's behavior and kind of social dynamics and social relations as they pertain to, more analytical and societal trends and things of that nature that I think is worth mentioning.
Yeah. Let's talk about, of course, typical Alexi, just throw out, weeks worth of things to talk about there. Yeah. Well, thank you all for talking a little bit about that. Let's, I kind of feel the same way as you, Alexi, about the general, at least in this country, climate, or like the way that people behave and kind of our larger social thought process. And like, I don't know, the empathy gap, or why empathy is difficult, is just kind of beyond me. I don't really understand it, though. Like, just looking at my own experience, I, in a way, also did not have empathy until something happened to me. And I think that's like the main criticism that we have for people a lot of times. It's like, why do we have to wait for like us to, understand LGBTQ issues until we have a gay son or a trans daughter, whatever. And there's really extreme cases of that. But even I can, see that in my own self. And that's why I'm thankful for the experiences that I've had. But, I didn't believe in bisexuality until I realized that I was bi. And I had the same general concept of it as the stereotype, that's not a real thing. And, if you're a man, then that really means you're gay. And if you're a woman, that really means you're just like experimenting with your friends. And, I didn't believe in addiction until it happened to me. Also, I felt like I control myself. I talked people into drinking because I believed so much that, people would talk about, oh, I don't drink because, there's alcoholism in my family. And I just thought that was the most idiotic thing at the time, and so I can at least trace it back. I can have empathy for the problem with empathy. Like, I'm grateful for the feelings that I have and going through life as an alcoholic and, going through healthcare systems, that are horrible, and seeing the people that are treated in those facilities and the way that we are treating people with mental illness or even just general health, is shocking. And I truly didn't know how bad that was until I experienced it, and so what are other people's thoughts?
Well, I think that if we're talking about the United States is a culture it's a society and culture of individualism. And people are encouraged to only think about themselves and how things benefit them personally or harm them personally. So I think that empathy, because of the way we think in this country, it has to really struggle to break through this, I don't know, concrete, if you will, of individualism. And we're different because not all societies are that way. I think you shouldn't have to have experienced something in order to be empathetic to someone else's situation. Just because you've never been homeless doesn't mean you can't be empathetic for someone who is, or any, variety of topics. And I think so COVID, as it relates to COVID, I don't know. I feel like for me, COVID revealed how selfish some people are, how inattentive some people are. And I don't know, the lessons I've kind of taken from the pandemic have not all been positive ones. And I don't know how you all feel about it, how it sort of affected your outlook on people or your mental health. But I don't know. For me, I've kind of gotten a little disappointed by the lack of willingness to do the minimum to protect other people.
Yeah, this is another big, in the political landscape of the last 4 years. I think a lot of I don't feel often very super angry at individuals because I tend to get really upset and angry at why they are that way. And, what has caused us to, raise human beings like this, do other people think? I think about that all the time, especially with, recent politics. Like, I don't like how divisive it's become. And I don't like that if someone is not wearing a mask over the past year, that automatically causes so many judgments in my head about them. I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to think that way, and it feels like forced upon me. And I don't know, but I often think about the systems that are in place where we keep churning out people with the same mentality and they're prone to the same failings. Any other COVID?
Well, just to kind of go with what the two of you were saying, just not really being able to grasp why people lack empathy or why people, like Jacori, you said, can't do the bare minimum. And I get that frustration completely. I was there too. And I remember getting to a point, I think I probably read something, and it was like a quote, and it was saying, you know, we're not meant to understand the whys and the hows of everything, and we will drive ourselves insane just trying so hard to figure it out. And at some point I was just like, you know what, I don't know why. I don't know why some people are like this and some people are like that. I don't know why people can't raise their kids to just be compassionate and just be kind to other people. And I don't know why, but I can't sit here. I can't drive myself crazy thinking and wondering why. And I just have to release that and just be like, it is what it is. And I know that's hard and it's difficult, but I don't have the answers to those questions either. I really don't. And yeah, I was just kind of thinking about that when you guys were saying that. I was like, I've been there too, just kind of like, why? And, you know, I don't have the answers to everything. Neither of us do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think those are all very very valid and very astute points. I think they all kind of have a thread that kind of run through them, and one of them is kind of in different ways, a kind of maybe a kind of helplessness, not in the sense that, you know, there's nothing you can influence or cannot, make an impact in, but, you know, existentially a kind of, inability to actually control things. But, you know, I think it'd be a misreading of history to, you know, think of some things or most things as being, you know, entirely new. I mean, you know, they're like the masking thing, you know, like there were very similar occurrences with anti-masking things in a different way back in the 1918 pandemic. And of course, during that time, I believe it was Woodrow Wilson was president. No, not Woodrow, I don't remember, but it's like they were anti-masking, you know, and a similar kind of general incompetence undergirded, not maliciousness, but incompetence and ignorance undergirded that. Now, as for division, in ideological division and political division, divisiveness, you know, that's something that can go. That's foundational in this country. That goes back to the colonial times with the development of the two-party system, and then up through, you know, anything post JFK, LBJ, and the 1960s, and that era when things started to begin to change, and then economically with Reagan. And I don't think that any of it's completely new. I think you're just seeing different manifestations of similar patterns of behavior, and you know, I think, you know, oftentimes people who I think, you know, there's a certain amount of logic to be found, or you know, and just understand the kind of people are not. You know, relationships, people are not necessarily, it's hard to logicize them. And we all have these kinds of perceptual filters through which we see the world. And I don't know, I guess I would just, you know, there are so many different ways of thinking about all of these things, and conclusions one could come to from so many different areas of thought, but you know, it's, I don't know, what I got from COVID more than anything was this is kind of like a kind of like people that, you know, bought into like this kind of this 1980s kind of idea of like this lack of collective agency, that like the government didn't owe them anything, or like that they you know had to, you know, or like, I don't know. I think it could be like the topic of like encyclopedias. But what I think COVID will, in that whole experience, will strengthen us. And I do think, speaking, some level of indirect experience, people have a tendency, it kind of comes in waves. People do have a way of getting tired of hating each other.
Let's yeah.
I would say that for me, that's been the frustration is, so we've gone through this before in 1918, you mentioned, and it's like we haven't learned collectively anything. I think I just got to a point in this pandemic with the mask thing and the distancing thing and seeing people go to these huge parties and stuff, like we're saying, I'm not going to get upset about it because it's not serving me. It's not helping my mental health. It's just frustrating me, angering me, saddening me. Someone next to me, maybe they don't care enough about my health to maybe expose me to COVID. And that, I thought, well, I can't be upset about that every time that happens. I can only control my reaction to it. And so instead of giving that some power, I have to just say, you know what? I don't know where they are mentally. I don't know where they are in their life, but I know where I am. And I just can't let this stuff upset me like that. And I think you have to be like that because we can't control other people ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least that's what I've taken.
No, I think I 100% agree. And that's kind of like a paradox. It's like, I think in an ideal world, the best interest of the individual would also be the best interest of the collective and vice versa. Right. But that kind of, that's a good way that's a good point, because when the collective isn't thinking of you, then you're forced to think about just yourself, and so that kind of, it feeds off each other and it creates this kind of, decision-making disequilibrium, so that's just, in the chaos kind of follows.
Let's talk about, relating this back to what we do personally. Because I feel the same way, Jacko, like that, as Alexi was saying, it's like, that's what drives me, like intellectually, like crazy sometimes, thinking about throughout time, humans have, it's just the same, issues over and over and over again. And it's like the human condition is just, it has its failings, and we think that we are the most intelligent and the most forward-thinking things on the planet, and even the galaxy or whatever, we have, but in that way we're so limited because we can only see to our own ends. Like we can only see to what we know, and often we don't think about what we don't know and all the things that we aren't in control of. And I don't know, like my experience with getting sober, and I particularly had a spiritual experience when I was detoxing, and I think maybe kind of was close to death, but I had a voice in my head that was an imperative and was kind of bringing me out of it, telling me to wake up, like in a way that I don't know, there's something otherworldly, primal, outside of myself about it that I can't really express. But having gone through that, the perspective has changed for me. I kind of I can more easily see how small we are and how how limited we are in our own selfishness and in our own body and mind, and to just live with that, and to just know that there's so little that I will ever understand, kind of as Nita was saying, and I think even Nita was kind of getting into like, for me to experience joy and happiness in the world is kind of radical, and to work on myself so much, continually work on myself in a way that I can truly experience contentment and joy and truth and vulnerability. And, that is something that is like, that's the hard work. That's like the graduate level course, I feel like, of life. And we often think about it like the opposite, So what are you all doing for yourself? And how do you move through the next day?
Well, I think for me, and something I try to impart upon people, that two people that I work with, that I dance with, is because sometimes they're having a hard day or they're tired or whatever, and it's okay, but you can tell it's not the best. And I think that we have to be kind and gracious with ourselves and to say, you know what, I think that we have this pressure on us to be optimistic all the time. And you just, sometimes you're having a bad day or you're down or something's not working. And I think you have to be honest and okay with saying, you know what, I'm having an off day, an off moment, and tomorrow's a new day and we'll see what happens. That it's okay to be not 100%. And I remind myself of that all the time. Like, maybe I wasn't in a great mood today and I did something and I did it okay, it was so, and that's all right. And I think that's the lesson. It's just allow yourself some grace. Be kind with yourself.
Yeah, I love that because, that's such a big part of being human. And if you're denying your own humanity and your own, human qualities, you're living a false existence. It's going to be completely counterproductive in so many ways. So yeah, that's great.
I was having a conversation with my parents who are not of the same political ideology at all of me, and completely different life experiences, in terms of how they approach life. And we were getting into a political debate, and my dad kind of was like, what we're saying, I'm apathetic to this all because this is the churning of life. This is the way it is, right? And what am I supposed to do? And I was like, I think that's the question that, first of all, that someone from a different political place, that we have that same thought is interesting, but also is like, the only thing that we can do is point the finger back at myself and like hope to be the person that I want as a neighbor and as a friend and as a partner and as an ally to those that don't have the same experiences of me or different backgrounds, and like just focus on the little circle that we all have. And I also kind of think when I start getting really frustrated with other people, I try to remember that we're not all going through life linearly on the same path at the same time, and so like the person next to me that I might want to be annoyed with or something, I don't know where they're at on their life journey, and so that really helps me to kind of get back into the self and just be like, have more empathy and to just think about life from a perspective that's not just my own all the time.
I'll let someone else talk. I want to hear what you think, Nita, but yeah, I just think like you got to put that pause in there when you're seeing somebody's behavior and you want to judge it really quick, to just pause for a second and don't be so quick to judge them. Because honestly, we don't know what the person next to us is going through. And it could be a lot. It could be nothing. Maybe they're just a jerk, but you never know. So I think you just got to put that moment in there before you just say, you know what, like, fuck you. Just like say, instead of that, oh, I'm not feeling what you're doing, but Okay, I'm gonna leave it, that's all.
Nita, what's going on?
Excuse me. Yeah, I kind of wanted to go back to what Jacko and excuse me, something's in my throat. And
Mhm.
Alexi, and Alexi were saying about just allowing yourself to be human and really acknowledging this toxic positivity that can go around. I know I've struggled with that. Being on this healing journey, I can get really hard on myself about not being perfect, right? Or not doing something the right way, or even in your case, reacting to someone or not reacting in a way that, oh, but wait, I've been doing healing work and I'm supposed to react this way, and I don't react that way because I'm human and I'm still growing. And one thing I really had to realize, I had to sit down with myself, and I want people to know this, is that healing doesn't always look pretty. You can have those moments where you can sit down and realize, oh wow, I've come such a long ways, or I don't behave or act in the way I used to, and that's great. Or you can have these moments of feeling grounded and feeling at peace, even in the midst of chaos. But healing doesn't always look that way. Sometimes it feels like straight hell. And one thing someone wise once told me is that if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not doing something right. It is in the feeling of being uncomfortable is pushing you out of your comfort zone, and that's how the growth and the change takes place in that space. And so really allowing yourself to, and one thing I want to say too is me being on the spiritual path, and I'm really into things like the law of attraction and the spiritual laws and things of that nature. And I listen to so many people that kind of have this toxic positivity, right? Where it's like, oh, well, just think positive all the time. Just be happy all the time. Oh, you're trying to manifest this, you're trying to manifest that. Well, just be happy and act like you already have it, and don't have contradictory thoughts. Just think just happy vibes all the time. And that's just not how life works. And I don't think that's fair to deny yourself from the human experience. If you're feeling like shit, feel like that. Feel that pain, feel that anger, feel that discomfort. That's your humanity. And there's more, I think there's meaning in all of our emotions that we feel. We have to feel those emotions. There's messages in that. There's wisdom in that. There's healing in that. And we can't just ignore the feelings that make us that bring us discomfort and just only try to be focused on being happy all the time. That's great. But it's not realistic. You can be happy, and I also believe you can be more than one thing at once. You could be grateful. You can be thankful and also be frustrated. Why can't we be two things at once or multiple things at once? We are multi layered beings capable of anything. So I wanted to bring that back around because it's very important that people understand that growth doesn't always look pretty, and don't be like me and be hard on yourself because you don't get something right the first time. You might. I'm a scholar. I love learning new things and then trying to apply something. So I'll go read a book or read an article, and it's giving me some great information. I write it down in my journal, and I'm like, okay, now I have to do this every single time. I have to get it right. No, that doesn't work like that. So just, keep that in mind.
I
Yeah,
think. Oh,
go Lexi.
okay. No, Nita, I think that was absolutely beautiful. I think one of the biggest existential threats that people face is a kind of unwillingness or the fear of being authentic. Because if you put on a happy face all the time, or if you're constantly striving to present an inauthentic version of yourself, you are masking something that probably needs to be addressed, or something major going on in your life. And challenges and difficulties and hardships and suffering, do push us, individually, but also, collectively in all of humanity into new growth. At least I like to think that. And, I think, any kind of healing journey like you're talking about is, it's not linear. I don't think anything is a straight line. I think it all zigs and zags. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's I think that came to mind, when you were talking about, the toxic positivity and the happiness, because a lot of times what that is just denial, like you're just denying, your own feelings, to feel happy, but really the happiness is coming from you just avoiding what's really going on. So yeah,
Something like the tyranny of, it can be the tyranny of the rainbow that we use in our community, because of course there's the beautiful side of that, which is inclusivity, diversity, positivity, but that's not all of life, and that's not all of the experience of queer people. And I think we have to acknowledge that and say, you know what, that's also a part of our journey as people. Is yeah. And just to your point about healing, I think it's like when you have an injury, and you're trying to rehab a certain part of your body and get it strong again. Doesn't happen overnight. Takes some time, takes a lot of struggle sometimes. Maybe it's never healed 100%, and you just learn to live with a discomfort or a challenge, let's say. And I really think healing is like that as well.
I think yeah, that's you have to, like Nita was saying, and what you were saying is, and what Stacy was also saying, we've all kind of been saying is like, I think that is like so crucial. But the very first thing is also just like that, like, having, I think the greatest form of courage really is having the courage to say, I can't take on everything. I can't take on everything that I'm dealing with. I can't take on the universe. I can't take on like all of these problems. No human being can do that. And I think it takes an incredible amount of courage to do that. And in order to get to the healing process, and that analogy that you used, you have to first have the courage to be authentic and to acknowledge that you are hurting, or that you need help, or that you are struggling, and that living takes a lot of courage, but ultimately living takes a lot more courage than not being around, but it takes a lot of courage. And I think, if there's a certain kind of sadness in our culture, I think it comes from people not being willing to realize how courageous they already are, and to afford themselves that grace of acknowledging, hey, I can't do it alone. I can't do it. I can't do it all by myself. I do need to be strong, but part of that strength is in acknowledging my limitations, because we all have limitations.
I think you just get up and get out of bed and try. Yeah. You've already done it. Like, if you can do that, you can get through stuff. And so I think, yeah, I mean, and maybe, who knows what may happen, but I think you've already got up and started another day. That's it.
We've got like 5 minutes left, and I want to end on a powerful note. Let's talk about what Alexi was talking about, and Jacko there, about courage and bravery, and what that really means, for a life. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. And I've grown into myself more, particularly through my experiences in sobriety, and being able to be a part of community, and being able to just be here, another human with other people. And as I've gotten more comfortable doing that, I've fallen in love, and I can communicate better. I have relationships with people, but it's also really, for the past few years, it's been terrifying, the love that I have and the vulnerability that I have, and talking with people. It feels like, classic, your heart is out, in front of your body. And it's really one of the scariest things that I've experienced in my life. And I've come to realize that, like, if the more authentic that you can really be with with yourself. And I struggle to use the word authentic because that's really become like a buzzword recently. But that is the greatest thing that any human, I think, can achieve, and that is a life's work of getting more in tune with yourself and being able to have that line with yourself, and line to I go to like here area, but like to feel that, to feel your true self and be able to express that. I think like I just started to kind of tap into that, and there are people in life that I've seen do that, and I think that's what true bravery and courage is, and it's unbelievably powerful, and we all have that ability to do that. We just have to keep working on it. Last thoughts about that? Or
I think, yeah, I mean, just to go with courage, I think people need to just remember that you're a lot stronger than you probably give yourself credit for, and that can apply to all aspects of your life. And just don't forget that when you don't feel like, oh, I can't take on any more and this and that, you can. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you can. The potential's in all of us. And yeah, that's it.
final thoughts?
Yeah, that was all beautiful. I think thanks for doing all this and having this. This was, thanks for watching people. I think what I like to the way I view things, I guess for me at least, is I always say, I always consider, I think life is always beautiful, but I think living can be very difficult. So if you kind of are able to compartmentalize a little bit, but I don't want to, I want to, what Jacko said. we'll leave it. But yeah, no, this was a very, very moving discussion. So thank you for hosting this.
And I just want to encourage everyone to look into therapy. If you are not in therapy, therapy is a great tool to help you navigate life and really gain the coping skills, because we go through so much and we don't have the skills to help us get through those tough times. So get you a therapist, get you a good therapist, get you a good friend, join a support group. Just continue to better yourself and be the best you can be, because you deserve it.
And real quick, I also get a therapist and get something that gets your ass sweaty, gets your heart rate up. It will help you find, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's not dancing, maybe it's not lifting weights. I don't know, something. I promise you it will help you with whatever's going on up here.
Nice. This has been really, I don't know, I feel better having talks about this. This is really fun. Nita, did you want to plug? How do we follow your enrichment program and your journey?
Yeah, so I have a page, Available Healing, on Instagram. There, again, I just put out some really useful information. A friend of mine named Brent Darden, him and I are creating a self-enrichment program called the Building Blocks of Life. And we have been making videos kind of going over some of those things that we will be discussing. We have 4 blocks that we're going to be working on. That's mindset, spirituality, communication, and relationships, and networking. So be on the lookout for that. We continue to post material about it. You can follow my page at Available Healing. You get all that information. I'll have the videos and info there as they come through.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed hearing all of you speak and having this conversation. Thank you all for listening. We will be back next month with new artist spotlight and new hot dish. We're going to continue on the mental health theme, focusing on addiction next month. These are all incredible board members of Notified KC, whom give so much support, and follow them all and get engaged with Notified, because this is a great group of people, and we'll see you next time. So thank you all.